I'm live. Doesn't seem live. Okay, you're gonna check that. Hi guys, it's Alan. I'm watching Hannibal, and it's almost as good as Silence of the Lambs, but that's a classic. So anyway, I always do videos on targeted individuals, which I am one. V2K, the whole bit, the electronic jolts, and but it's been also, besides studying religion and cults, I studied apologetics and theology and humanism, atheism, Christian apologetics, just the whole. J.P. Moreland's probably my favorite Christian apologist. The humanist was probably C. Dennis McKenzie or Hitchens. Actually, my favorite author is Marlene Winnell. Leaving the Fold was a great book, helped me a lot from my extreme fundamentalism, but fundamentalism can help people too. Anyway, I wanted to do a thing on one of the vexing problems in traditional theology, and that's the problem of evil and the origin of evil. And normally there's the free will issue that, and there's the Calvinistic issue, the double predestination. There's single predestination, Romans 9, or double predestination, depending on how you look at it, with an Arminian twist. The single predestination, it's almost like a chosenness, and then the ones who weren't chosen are deistic Arminians. They're just left to themselves. Anyway, people have always wondered about the problem of evil. And there's Elon Vetal or Pierre Teilhard de Chardin trying to find it in a futuristic evolutionary theology, an omega point, alpha and omega point, of some in the anthropic principle, try to breach it out into different areas make it mean something a lot different than whatever it's supposed to mean in different. Anyway, what I was trying to do is think one of the things that have escaped theologians and philosophers, and I thought it could be a potential answer for it, and it is the idea, and this is on an assumption because natural theology, natural philosophy, us as humans trying to guess what God or spirits who are all knowing, it is kind of like, from the evolutionary viewpoint, apes trying to guess what humans think. Apes, as far as their wisdom, or dolphins, or what, trying to have them understand what a human is like, it'd be impossible. And same with humans trying to guess a god, if there is a god or a fine tuner. But if there is, one possible explanation is the origin of evil. And I thought it could be answered by the idea that God, as almost like a scientist, has absolute foreknowledge of how, like a scientist knows how cause and effect. But in the problem of evil, even in the animal kingdom and evolutionary theology, or theodicy, I should say, the problem of evil is that it's the idea that it's contingent on the idea, with the idea of Adam and Eve, or whether in the evolutionary theory, but normally in Christian theology, whenever God made man, or at least put his spirit within people, the first people, whatever, it's almost as if the first time God saw somewhat of an equal that was made aware of ethics, made aware of shame and guilt. Like, hey, I didn't like this. This hurts. And this person can speak back to me. This person can argue and is somewhat, not an equal, but we can relate to each other. And when man was created, whether it's in fundamentalism, Adam and Eve, or in evolutionary, the first time that people became aware of their right and wrong, their ability. I can take advantage of somebody, even though I know I wouldn't want that person to take advantage of me. God has perfect awareness of the future, like a scientist, for all these decades. That's why the anthropic principle came down to all these, or at least design. I shouldn't call it that. Design is not the same as the anthropic principle. That's the other alternative. But if man could relate to other man, if people could relate to other people, then for the first time, if it's just God, then there's no one else to relate to. But with the advent of people and the evolutionary, then here's someone that can actually complain and say, this isn't fair. And it's almost like someone can argue back and say, and that to me is a telling point of the origin of morality, the origin of ethics. It's almost like the first time it's the origin of morality. It's like in the animal kingdom, it's survival of the fittest, kill or be killed, that kind of. There's some altruism, but it's mainly for survival. But with people, people can deny themselves, and oftentimes do. We all do. In order, if you're over the age of 20 or 30, you have learned to deny yourself and do what's legal or ethical, whatever, to live, not break too many rules, be kind. But in the origin of evil, where did evil come from? And if God knew all this stuff, well, the thing is, I think foreknowledge, absolute foreknowledge, was almost like that of a scientist. But the big difference in this, and here's the catch, is God, in making man, didn't know how making man with his own spirit, or, that awareness of good and evil, he didn't know how it would affect him, and how evil and having an equal, so to speak, and having someone that could complain and learn ethics. He didn't know how, or when I say he, I don't mean God with a, I just mean anthropomorphically speaking. We've been trained to think of God as a he or she or thou. Thou's more appropriate. But anyway, for discussion, just the idea that God is, for the first time in all of human or world or eternal history, God made a being that after making man didn't know how it would affect him. Here's someone that can learn ethics, and for the first time in all of creation, all eternity past, here's someone that could, and it's almost like ethics was born that day. Ethics, holiness, goodness, whatever. And it's like man could relate to other people, other man. People can relate to each other and say, well, they learned something. I didn't like this when this was done to me, so I won't do it to you. Or men, Cain and Abel, biblical story, or people just killing people. And it's like, that's wrong. The birth of that is wrong. And that is like the first time where it's like, it's wrong, not because it's wrong, because I know I wouldn't like it if someone did it to me or my family or my friends. It's like the birth of ethics. And that's the difference in this type of starting point in theology or theodicy, is that in making man, God did not know, including in the Bible itself, after realizing that man became evil. In Scripture, it even describes in Genesis where it grieved man. God repented, and it uses that English term, whether Greek or Latin term, I forget, but God repented that he had made man at that time. That's how they phrased it in Genesis. It's as if he knew that man could create and live and kill and morals, but that's like a scientific perspective. But how it affected him, that was the birthplace of morality and ethics, of really shame and guilt. And it's like a mirror, God holding up a mirror to himself, his own image, and saying, okay. And that becomes the birthplace of right and wrong. And learning empathy to other people. You don't push someone over, not because you can get away with it because you may not get caught, but because it's wrong, even if you don't get rewarded or punished for it. It's not just in Christian theology. There are some groups like Jains. They are so, some of the priests are so gifted in sensitivity, but that sensitivity to morality and suffering can make themselves masochistic towards themselves. And that's what I mean. They can become Hey, there's my friend Tanya. Hey, Tanya. Good day. Good to see you in Australia there. Doing a thing on theology of all things. So it's about 1:05 in the morning here, but I'm not sure how it is in Australia. I got to learn to do those little symbols there. I do a couple of them, but those icons, but I forget. So anyway, that's the birthplace of ethics and morality, and that's how. I mean, it could be in Calvinism or Arminian, but anyway, it's always been a mystery. But if it's viewed that way, like foreknowledge was like a scientific foreknowledge, but with the advent of people, it becomes more an awareness of morality and ethics, and that's where it kind of changed. So, well, Ton, I'm just kind of did a quick thing on this little thing, so I'll probably make another one here in a little bit for TIs or something. So, so I'll talk to you later, Tanya. All right, I'll finish this one out. All right, thanks for watching, guys. How are you doing, Tanya?